Hey there, Danielle Matthews here. I am coming to you live from Colorado. Today is actually my birthday. Thank you all that have been sending me such wonderful wishes. It's so nice. It's filling my heart. I don't have this open because the sunlight was like too much, but right out of my window are beautiful aspen trees. And this time of year, I love the fall in Colorado because the aspens change and they turn this like beautiful golden yellow, and like the mountains become yellow and gold, and it's just gorgeous. So I'm very happy to be here. My parents are here. We're going to be spending the week here, going to a wedding for celebrating Jackie Wexler and Mike this weekend, and then I'll be back home. So book club, we got a little bit of a different background. My lighting is not ideal. That's just how it's going to be today. So for those of you that maybe don't know or haven't been part of this, The Power of Now is the book that we were reading for book club. For those of you in book club, let me know when you arrive. Just put your name in, say hey. Let me know that you're here. Hey, Shelly. Hey, Bob. Hey, Beth. Hey, Christy. So good to see you all. This chapter was so good. I think I got to see some of you guys in person over the weekend, and so many of you are like, Danielle, this book is it's deep and insightful. And like you literally, Fritz and I were talking, like you could just spend an hour on one page. So we have a half hour to go through a whole chapter. So good luck to us. Hey, Shelly. And he kicked this off, and I kind of want to do this little experiment with you. So if you were driving, don't do this. But if you're not driving, hopefully you're seated at home. I want you just to close your eyes. And Eckhart Tolle kicked off this chapter saying, talking about a little experiment. All right, this experiment is meant to help you become very alert. And he said, think of yourself like a cat watching a mouse hole, like totally present. And so what I want you to do, this little experiment, now that your eyes are closed, just take a deep breath in so we can center ourselves. So breathe in through the nose. And breathe out through the mouth. And I want you to say to yourself, I wonder what my next thought is going to be. I wonder what my next thought is going to be. We're just going to sit in silence with that wondering until it comes. Mine came quickly. Not so quiet for me today. I'm curious, what thought popped into your head? For me, there was a car driving outside, and it like totally, boom, I was like, oh, I wonder where they're going today, if they're going hiking. My mind like jumped in. Who had a thought pop in, or did I interrupt you? Was it my voice that interrupted you? Sorry if it was. Tammy says my audio is cutting in and out. Yikes. It says I've got full internet, so hopefully it's okay. Is anyone else having trouble? Are you there? That would be helpful to know. So put a one in the chat if you're hearing me. Are you with me? Are you up to date with me? Is my Wi-Fi not working? Okay, Fritz had construction across the street jump into his mind. You and me both. Sounds from outside. Okay, Beth's saying no trouble. Okay. All right, Tammy, it might be your connection. All right, you guys are with me. Okay. Maybe there's a little delay because the ones are coming in a little bit later. So I will just be a bit more patient today as we move through book club. Okay, so it's good on everybody's end. Okay. Stephanie says, my mind was pretty quick. I'm feeling a little pressure in my head. That's what popped in. Yeah, so bodily sensation. Actually, that's pretty good. Being aware of your body helps to bring you present. So that's actually pretty wonderful, Beth. Or Stephanie. Sorry, it was Stephanie. Okay. All right. He says, as long as you are aware of the state of intense presence, you are free of thought. So if you are just being aware that you're aware, you're in presence. And that is the whole point of the power of now. It's learning how to come into the now, how to come into the present moment. And I loved, he talked about how Zen masters used to like sneak up on their trainees and would hit them with a stick because they said their students, if they were fully present, would have felt the Zen master behind them, would have known what was coming, and therefore would not have gotten hit by the stick. But it was kind of this training of like, you need to be present, be in the moment. Fritz said, it helped me to know the definition of thought. Oh, interesting. Okay, so thought is an idea or opinion produced by thinking or occurring suddenly in the mind. Yeah, the thought is a thing that drops in. Yeah, it's helpful to know what it is that you're watching. Exactly, Fritz. So many people might be wondering, well, how do I do this? And he says, when you stay deeply rooted in yourself, or he quotes Jesus. He says, Jesus talks about keeping the lamp burning, the awareness within alive. I loved that analogy because I always think about light and this light of consciousness that is inside of us and this light of our being, that it's our divinity that's in us. If you keep that lamp burning, if you keep connected to that presence, then you will be in the now. And he says that one way to help you stay there is body awareness. So Stephanie, when you said I was aware of the pressure in my head, that actually is a powerful way of staying in the now. Feeling and knowing what's going on in your body. That's why a lot of what people teach is in Eastern philosophies is breath work, becoming aware of the breath, because the breath brings you into the body. And that brings you into presence. It connects you with that essence. And it lowers, the chatter of the mind. I thought it was interesting, the top of page 79. He says, in that state, the you that has a past and a future, the personality, if you like, is hardly there anymore. And yet, nothing of value is lost. You are still essentially yourself. In fact, you are more fully yourself than ever you were before, or rather, it is only now that you are truly yourself. I don't know if you guys caught that, but it made me think of when my car accident happened. I had to let go of my past and this person that I was and that I could no longer be. And I couldn't think about my future because I didn't know how I was going to feel in 10 minutes. And I was brought into the present moment. And I remember so vividly feeling like there was some sort of death. Like I felt like I no longer existed. And I wish someone had explained it to me like this and I ultimately got there myself. But it was like, when I couldn't identify with who I used to be and I couldn't allow myself to think about the future, the thoughts I was having were, what can I do right now to make me happy? How am I feeling right now? And I was forced into the present moment. And as he says, that's when you are the most deeply yourself, which is pretty profound. So getting in touch with that inner light is something, spend 20 minutes a day trying to do it, 10 minutes a day trying to do it. It is powerful what that opens up. And I want to jump... I really found this interesting. I'm jumping to now page 81. Because he was talking about how there's some people that are so trapped in their mind, they cannot even appreciate nature. And he talked about something called, how did he pronounce it? Satori. And Satori is this flash of insight. It's this knowing where there's no mind, you're in total presence. And a lot of times this happens for people in nature. Has anyone just been out in nature and felt super connected? I remember vividly one evening walking and seeing, I was looking at a tree and I was seeing the leaves. And I swear to you, it was like, I always thought of leaves and branches as like hanging. And what I saw was this vibrancy within them, like this life force where they were like literally like pulsing with life. And it stayed with me because it struck me so much. Like, wow, these trees around me are literally filled with life energy and are keeping and that's why we get reset in nature. And I felt so connected to it. Marie says, yeah, that's my happy place. Looking out at the clouds. It's a beautiful way to get connected. And he says, though, most people are prisoners of their own mind, and they might say something like, well, that's a pretty flower, but they're saying it out of a mechanical mental labeling, but not out of presence, not actually of seeing the beauty in the flower. Do you know anybody like that? That they're like, oh, I know I should say I stopped and smelled the roses, but you're like, wait, you're not actually stopping. You might have literally stopped and smelled it, but you didn't actually feel it. You weren't actually with it. And that's what he's saying is where we're trying to go. And I loved this. I highlighted this whole thing where he says, because we live in such a mind-dominated culture, most modern art, architecture, music, literature are devoid of beauty, of inner essence, and this has very few exception. Think about that. Think about the town you live in. Are you inspired by the architecture? Does it move something inside of you? He says the reason is that the people who create those things cannot even for a moment free themselves from their own mind. So they are never in touch with that place within themselves where true creativity and beauty arises. He says, just look at the urban landscape and the industrial wastelands of our society. No civilization has ever produced so much ugliness. And I read that and I went, man, I had never considered it that way, right? We know the saying, as within, so without. But collectively, yeah, Lou was saying music has lost so much. Yeah, we had an 80s party over the weekend, and it was all 80s music, and there was like more life and creativity in that music. And I was thinking about like the 70s and like the 60s, and I grew up with that because my parents played it in the house while I was growing up. It was obviously not my era. But yeah, like music now, it's like electronic, like like it's like there's no soul there. Like there is no soul in those songs. They don't bring tears to your eyes, but there's, I listened when I landed in Colorado. It was John Denver was playing at the airport, like Country Roads Take Me Home. And like you feel it in your soul when you feel that song because he was connected there, You can't produce something like that unless you're connected deeply to that essence. And I think looking at architecture and like you said, these industrial wastelands, I just went, oh my God, what are we doing to the face of the earth? And you think about, you go to Europe and the architecture was so beautiful because it was inspired, it was in spirit. It was inspired by this beauty of beyond and getting people to look up and realize there was more and see this beauty all around. Angela says, I notice in the negative, my workplace building is brutalist architecture from the 60s. Yeah, interesting. It's interesting to become aware of it, right? And then to think, well, how could I add some beauty to life? Again, when I landed in Colorado, I was walking down the terminal. I flew Southwest. And I just loved Southwest had hung, like, how you stand at Southwest between the different, like 1 to 5 and then 6 to 10 and whatever. You're like in and they have those things up. Well, someone had like strung these beautiful, colorful things in between. And then on another one, they had like put like big dice and like cards. And like it was clear that those flights out of that gate like go to Vegas. But I thought, wow, like way to add some soul, way to add some essence, some humanity, some creativity to like such a mundane thing. And it's like, where can we do that? Like, where can we add some spirit into life? And that will lift others. Like, whoever thought of that literally made my day yesterday. Like, it made me smile. And I saw other people as they walked by smiling too. Bringing that back in, like that person was connected with something, that's what it is. All right. Let me move us on. Oh, this was really good. This chapter got really deep, and it was actually pretty profound for me. I don't think I shared on here. So one of my mentors, I'll say role model, she was my age. Well, today I turned 35. Today is my birthday. And Jessie Lee Ward, she was born a couple hours from where I lived. I didn't know her, but she grew up. She became just a dominant force in the network marketing space, which is the industry I am in as well, and that I absolutely love. And she became #1 in the world at my age. And I learned so much from her. Unfortunately, she passed away a little over a week ago due to she was fighting colon cancer. And thank you for the birthday wishes. And it really hit me, like it hit me hard because I really connected and resonated with this form of Jessie Lee Ward. She called herself Boss Lee. And she was such a dominant figure in this being, like in this, like we know there's the soul that then takes on this impersonation. And it was such a beautiful like representation for me of like everything that I'm looking to be also. Like she just lit people up and I'm like, I want to do the same. And Charlotte, thank you. Yeah, I did a tribute on my page to her if you want to listen. And I would say follow her. She has so much content out there. You can learn so much from her, even though her spirit is no longer on this earth. The page 82 and 83 gave me so much peace because he started talking about, look, everything that exists has beingness. It has that God essence. It has that divinity. It has a degree of consciousness. He says the sun, the earth, the plants, the animals, the humans are all an expression of consciousness. And the vision that came to me was clay. Like if consciousness were clay, and it's just the clay is being formed into a bowl, it's being formed into a figurine, it's being formed into, a fork, a knife, a whatever. Like you can form so much from clay, but it is clay. Like, it might take the form of a fork and a bowl, but at the end of the day, it's just clay. That's its true essence. And so what he shared, I'm not going to go into it. I'm going to take my takeaway from it because I think this visual was profound. It's like we're just clay formations. Like, we are just an expression of consciousness. Like, we are the wave coming out of the ocean. And then when we get so identified with the expression, the wave, if I got so identified with that bowl, right, with that cup, with that thing that was made out of clay, of course, when that thing goes away, it would be tragic. It would feel absolutely tragic. But if you didn't know that it just went back to its true essence, it just went back into clay, and now can express in a different form or support in a different way, like, if you don't have that knowing, then it's incredible. It hurts. And of course, there's like the feeling of the loss of like, wow, I really liked that bowl, right? I really loved this being that was Jessie Lee Ward, Boss Lee. But I know on a deeper level that her soul, her spirit is still here. Like the clay, right? That bowl just became clay again. And that spirit is still around, and in fact, in a form that now it can connect to everything because it's gone back. It's like the wave going back into the ocean. That expression of the wave is gone, but to me, that impact she had specifically has been beautiful, and it can still be connected in this land of form to it. But her essence is still there, and I just thought, it gave such beauty to this because it felt really cruel. It felt tragic to see somebody so young with so much life leave the planet. But this just gave me solace. And so I don't know. I know some of you are grieving some losses as well. And I just hope that this hit you the way that it did. He said, if a fish is born in your aquarium and you call it John and you write a birth certificate and you tell him about his family history and 2 minutes later he gets eaten by another fish, that's tragic. But it's only tragic because you projected a separate self where there really was none. You got hold of a fraction of a dynamic process, a molecular dance, and made a separate entity out of it. Right? That fish is not separate from the other fish. She is not separate from me or you. We're all one. It's just that the molecules right now, formed that form in that being, and now that structure is being reformulated. It's just, to me, it's just beautiful. He says, consciousness takes on the disguise of form until it reaches such complexity that it completely loses itself in the form. So he's talking about just the evolution and the how consciousness evolves. So did you catch that? Consciousness, the ocean, right, the clay, takes on the disguise of form. It comes in as a wave. It comes in as the bowl. It comes in as Jessie Lee Ward. It comes in as me. It comes in as you. And it disguises itself so much until it's reached such complexity that it loses itself. So we have lost ourselves, right? I believe I'm Danielle. I don't realize I'm consciousness. I am identified as the wave, not the ocean. He says, in present day humans, consciousness is completely identified with its disguise. Would you agree that most people do not realize they have a spirit inside of them? They have a soul inside of them. There is something more there. Most people are so identified with their mind and who they are in this form. And he says, it only knows itself as form and therefore lives in fear of the annihilation of its physical and psychological form. Who fears death? Most of us do. Most of us don't even want to talk about it. And when it happens, it freaks us out when we see somebody else pass away. It reminds us of the fact that, we are mere mortals. But only in this expression, right? But most of us think this. He says, this is the egoic mind. And this is where considerable dysfunction sets in. It now looks as if something had gone very wrong somewhere along the line of evolution. But even this is part of the divine game. He calls it Leela, the divine game. And this is what's pretty cool. And I thought, wow, this is what we're here doing. He says, finally, the pressure of suffering created by this apparent dysfunction forces consciousness to disidentify from form and awaken it from its dream of form. You with me? So things get so hard. This is how he started off his chapter. Like he was going to commit suicide. The book. Things were so hard for him that he said, I can't be in this form anymore. And then all of a sudden he went, wait, who can't be in this form? And he realized, wait, there's something more to me than this form. And he started to be able to live from that space. And this is the trajectory for humanity, I believe. And I think this is the path all of us are on. He says, when it regains self-consciousness, when we're able to be the observer and watch the mind, and it is as far deeper level than when it lost it. So it had to go, like a dog is still in alignment. An animal is still in alignment with its intuition. Like it's still connected to its divinity, but it's not enlightened because it never knew itself to be separate. Does that make sense? Put a 2 in the chat if that makes sense. So a dog cannot become enlightened, right? It's living in that flow. People, we humans, disconnect from it. And when we disconnect from it, our journey is to go through the suffering of what happens through that separation to then identify again with the fact that I am more than that. And that is when enlightenment is reached. And then you can be in the flow, as the dog is, you can be in the flow of consciousness and know that you are that. Okay, and that is the human journey. That is what it's all about. That's what I believe. That's what he's sharing here. That's what I've been taught in all my philosophies. That's what I'll be talking about in the course I just launched. This is what it's all about. So he says, now, can you see the deeper and wider significance of becoming present as the watcher of your mind? Do you see now when you become the watcher of the mind, you are actually going through this beautiful, transformative, like this is the evolution of consciousness. This is where we have reached, where we can separate from this dysfunctional mind that's creating so much chaos for us, and we can watch it, and we can connect with our divine self. He says, watching the mind, we are personalizing an event that is truly of cosmic significance. Through you, consciousness is awakening out of its dream of identification with form and withdrawing from it. And if we do this collectively, think of the power in that. All right. Once you are free from that, so much happens. He says, I'm on now page 84. He says, the egoic mind has become like a sinking ship. If you don't get off, you will go down with it. All right. I mean, think about how Eckhart Tolle was about to kill himself because his egoic mind had gotten so out of control, he was about to go down with it. He was about to end this life. And he says, the collective egoic mind is the most dangerously insane and destructive entity ever to inhabit this planet. Have you felt that? When the masses get into fear, it gets bad. And we've watched that play out in the world. I would say we watched that over the last few years even. We saw it during World War II. What can happen when that fear of the other steps in and we forget that, no, we are all one. We are the same consciousness. We're all the clay, just expressed in different, forms. We're all waves of the same ocean. When we forget that, it can be crazy. And he says, what do you think will happen on this planet if human consciousness remains unchanged? What is the direction we will go if we continue to stay identified with the ego, we continue to stay identified with fear, with separation, with all of these things? Marie says, yes, sometimes it's crazy because I think, what the heck? Why are you thinking that way? But that is the replay or the repeat. I have been seeing that my mind has just done that for years. Yes, but Marie, you're seeing it. So this is the thing. Most people don't realize that it's the mind that's having these thoughts, and they don't realize that they're playing a repeat program in their mind. You're realizing it. That's the key, my friend. So you have the key now. You're witnessing the replay. You're witnessing what it's doing, and now you just need to continue to redirect it into how you want to be. It's a redirection every time. You just cut, and it's that repetition of doing that that will support you in releasing it, and that's what we do with humanity. I love what he said about drugs. Did anyone else read that and go, oh my God, I've never had that perspective on drugs? He basically said drugs and alcohol. Things would be a lot worse on the planet if we didn't have that, because that's actually helping this insane ego mind calm down in some people. These people that haven't gained the insight, Marie, that you have, that they can actually step away and disidentify from those thoughts. They use drugs, alcohol, sex, whatever, to give themselves a break. And he was saying, thank goodness we have that, actually, because He says, I believe if deprived of their drugs, a large part of the population would become a danger to themselves and to others. How crazy is that? I never thought about it that way, but I believe it. All right. The next thing he talks about is the way out is through. So meaning, like I talked about, I think about my dog Bodhi, right? He cannot become enlightened. We cannot go back down to that level. We can't just say like, well, I want to get rid of the ego mind and drop down to not having it. That would actually be regressing. And we are progressing. Like we have to go through this. Consciousness is constantly evolving. It's constantly seeking expansion and further expression. And so far, it's reached the level of humanity. The complexity that we are, that it's totally lost itself in us. And so now we have to figure out how to get past that, how to disidentify and connect back in. That's the journey. He says falling back to a level of consciousness below the mind, which is the pre-thinking level of our distant ancestors, of animals, of plants, it's not an option for us. There's no way back. If the human race is to survive, it will have to go to the next stage. It's going to have to go to the next stage. Consciousness is evolving through the universe in billions of forms. So even if we don't make it, it wouldn't matter on a cosmic scale. That's humbling. So even if humans ruin everything, consciousness will just express itself elsewhere. He says, so even if we don't make it, there is no gain in consciousness can ever be lost. So it would simply express itself through some other form. But the very fact that I am speaking here and you are listening and you are reading and those of you on book club are connected and we're having these conversations, he says this is a clear sign that the new consciousness is gaining a foothold on the earth, on this planet, and that humanity is actually evolving consciously. It's actually waking up. He says at the beginning, awakening. Was that at the beginning or the end? Hang on. Oh, here. No, it's the next page. He says, presence means awakening to the divinity or the God essence within you. That is what is happening collectively on the planet. That is what you are going through right now. That is what I have gone through. People are waking up to the fact that this divinity is within them. And that is the power. That is the solution. That is where we can create a beautiful planet and connect collectively as the we that we are, realizing that, no, we are here all together as expressions of this consciousness to enjoy. So why not choose to enjoy love and beauty and be creative, right? Rather than when we're so identified with the ego mind, we make all this destructive stuff. I'm seeing the yeses. I'm loving the chat. All right. He also says, what the power of book club, right? He says, a group of people coming together in a state of presence, us being present with these teachings. He says it generates a collective energy field of great intensity. It not only raises the degree of presence of each member of the group, but it also helps to free the collective human consciousness from its current state of mind dominance. So just us being here together, having these conversations, creating this connection, it does it. And I would encourage you guys, share this. Share it on Instagram, share it on Facebook, share this out on your pages. People need to become aware. People are struggling. They don't understand why. Share this gift. Tag somebody in this to have them watch it. I believe that this can help collectively all of us. And, if others suffer, we suffer because we are connected. So helping one another to awaken, to realize the divinity that is within, the power that is within, the truth of who you are, to be able to, as Marie has done, witness the mind. And don't judge yourself, Marie. Like how many other people... Put a 1 in the chat if you have also noticed a replay of thoughts that you get into. Maybe it's a state of anxiety that you spin yourself up into because, well, what if this goes wrong? What if that goes wrong? What if I can't? What if this? What if that? Right? And you get into this what if game. We all have repeat patterns. We all have stuff. Well, I can't do that. I don't know how to do that. Who am I to do that? Right? All of these things come in. But just witness it. Like now I'm like, oh my God, my mind is so silly. Like I have the ability to go and set it over here and go, fine, you can have your crazy talk over here, but I'm not listening anymore. I'm going to move in the direction of what I know. I'm going to trust. I'm going to hang on to that trolley strap, right? That Wayne Dyer talks about. I'm going to trust that, I can navigate to where I want to go. And I can let go of the mind. And the mind doesn't always go away, Marie. So it's not like you're going to reach one day that it doesn't. I mean, my spiritual teacher, he's turning 91 in 2 weeks. And he still says, my day to day, he calls it his meditation in motion, is figuring out how his ego mind is being tricky and trying to overtake again, right? Because the ego mind only has existence when it's engaged with, right? If you don't engage with it, it has no existence. So it tries and fights really hard to keep its existence. All right. Oh, thank you, Lou. Lou says your work is helping. Well, I'm glad to hear that. Really just so grateful that this book landed here. I'm blown away by this work. So I believe we are moving into chapter 6 this week. I didn't actually look how long it is, so let's view that together. Might be a longer one. Let's see. Page 89 to page 106. Yeah, that seems longer. So maybe we do page 89 to page 99, just right before where it says, before you enter the body, forgive. Okay, before you enter the body, forgive. That's where we'll stop. So I'm just going to put a note. I will put it on the Telegram chat. If you're not in Telegram, just ask. I can put the link there, and we'll connect there. I'll put the assignment in there. I will see you guys next week. I appreciate all the birthday love. I'm going to go have some fun out here in Colorado, go for a little hike, enjoy the aspens, be in the presence, and be present all day. I appreciate all of you, and let's enjoy chapter 6, and we'll connect again next week. Lots of love, guys. Don't forget to share this. Go out there and help somebody else, lift and shift and awaken to a little bit more. Bye, guys.